last night there was a massive game in the Premier League between Manchester United, who've had a shocking start to the season, losing 2 games to Brighton and Brentford, and Liverpool, who are, in most people's minds, the main challengers this season to the champions Manchester City. I should say, before I go on to talk to John Giles about the game, that on yesterday morning's programme I talked about Casemiro, the new signing for Manchester United from Real Madrid, and I said that he had had a lot of injuries. A lot of our listeners have been in contact or tweeted or contacted to say that this is wrong, and I checked it myself. It is wrong, and I'm sorry for being misleading. Sometimes I had an impression that he had been injury prone in the last couple of seasons, and I was wrong, so I apologise for that. And now it's time to welcome John Giles, who watched the match last night. I think John and Liam and myself were pretty certain that Manchester United wouldn't beat Liverpool. John, they beat them. They deserved to beat them. They hit the post as well as getting the 2 goals. It was a remarkable transformation for United from the game against Brentford and indeed the home game against Brighton.
Yeah, you got a grip of it, Eamon. Whether the cause was leaving Ronaldo out and big centre-half out, we don't know.
Now, Harry Maguire, Ronaldo. He also left out Luke Shaw, who is outstanding.
Yeah, I think he left about 4 players out.
Yes.
So, he's a new manager, and that might be saying, well, okay, he's getting a grip on it now. I think his relationship with Ronaldo and what he was doing with Ronaldo was wrong. I mean, Ronaldo has made it known to him, everybody from the start, he wants to get away.
Yeah.
And then there was an incident in a match, I think a friendly match, where he was substituted in the second half and then left the dressing room.
Yeah, left the ground.
Left the ground, yeah. So I think you have to get a grip of that. And it does take a manager a while to really get a grip of the players. And I think he's done that now. And you saw a different team with a different approach last night, Eamon. They played the way you would expect Manchester United to play, deserved to win the match and played well. So that might be a start for him now to get a grip of it, Eamon,
Yeah, and he took some chances. He played a young lad, Malicia, at left back. He's a young lad from the Netherlands, actually. I think they paid 15 million for him. But he put him in, and his job, among others, was to mark Mo Salah. That was brave. He also got Marcus Rashford and this young lad, Elanga, who hit the post early on. Rashford also started really well. It's the best I've seen Rashford play for a long time, John. And he obviously was played in a position where his pace could exploit those gaps that Liverpool always leave, particularly on the left-hand side, or attacking left-hand side or defensive right-hand side. And he did exploit it.
Yeah. Well, he's only there a short time, and we're talking about the Manchester United manager now. And it does take time to settle in, because everybody has preconceived ideas when they move into a club.
Yes.
Joe Block can do this, and Joe Block can do that. And most times it doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
When you get in, you have to be in there a while to actually see the players, see how you can get on with them, see what they can actually do. And that's what he's doing now, in my opinion, because, he's only been there a short time. But you could see a difference in the Manchester United team last night, a big difference, as we've seen in the previous matches, particularly last week. So I think he's got a grip of it now. I think the players know what he expects. He's going to put the right players in, the players he thinks is the right players in, and go on from there. That's what should happen. But we'll have to wait and see. You never know in football.
No. Now, yesterday morning when Liam was with us, we talked about De Gea and the short passing out from goal kicks and how it got him into trouble against Brentford. Liam thought that it is the way to go, as a lot of clubs have been doing. And you were very emphatically saying no. And last night, United dispensed with it. De Gea put the ball down and took normal goal kicks. There was no short stuff played out from the back. Now, personally, I'd be more on your side of it than Liam's, in that I kind of think if you start playing out in your own sort of penalty area, sometimes in your own 6-yard box, you're only inviting trouble.
Well, I think so, Eamon. But I'd just like to say here, I mean, there are some goalkeepers, like the Liverpool goalkeeper
Alisson,
and the Manchester City goalkeeper, are very good at it.
Yeah.
What I'd object to is asking goalkeepers or judging goalkeepers on playing out from the back.
Yes.
You know, I judge a goalkeeper. Is he a good stopper? I'm playing out from the back, and being a good kicker is a bonus.
Yeah.
So I would never expect De Gea. I don't think De Gea can do it. So don't expect him to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't ask him to do it. But don't be judging goalkeepers on their distribution, Eamon, rather than their goal stopping.
Yep, I agree with you, and that was borne out last night. Another thing that was borne out really was the intensity that United played with. They were unrecognisable from the team that played Brentford. Brentford last week had that intensity, and United started off last night with that intensity.
Yeah.
And curiously enough, I don't know what you think, but I thought Liverpool lacked intensity. Now, they have got injuries. There was a lot of, big name players missing last night. Jota, Matip, Konate, Thiago. These are, and of course, Nunes, who got sent off the week before. So they were short. They have got injury problems, but that's no excuse, is it? I don't think so, anyway.
Well, it's a reason for not playing as well as you can play. We don't have the players. I mean, I think what you're asking about is the approach.
Yes.
You know, like the approach from Liverpool last night was a lack of intensity that they normally have, which you would expect from the players. Now they're going to suffer with the players that you mentioned that are injured and that they're bound to, because they're very, very good players. But there was a lack of intensity from the players who were actually playing from last night, and they were outdone by Manchester United's attitude to it. So it was disappointing from Liverpool's situation. But that's not the first match with Liverpool.
No.
Now, my theory on it, it goes back to the start of the season. And Klopp is the manager, and all managers, and he's a great manager for Liverpool, have to run things in the way that they should be run. And I think what started with Liverpool, they were back early, and he had a lot to say about the short break that they had.
Yes.
If you remember.
Yeah.
And he was saying, well, I'm giving the players an extra week off. And I think if you put it into the players' head, Eamon, that they didn't have much time. There was a very, very close season. I'm talking about the mental attitude.
Yeah.
I think he created that with the players. This is difficult. We're going on a tour. I want to give the players more time. This is a short pre-season. He went on a lot about it. And I think when the manager does that, it gets in the player's head, we haven't got much time.
Yes.
We can't do what we did last season.
Yep.
All the various things, that's an approach to the season, Eamon.
Yes. And,
I don't know if I'm expressing myself very well.
Let me try and simplify it. If you tell someone, okay, you're tired, I can understand it, they'll be tired.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a mental approach for this. And I don't think they had a good pre-season.
Yes.
Eamon.
Yeah.
Now, a pre-season, as you know, as an ex-player, it's a hugely, hugely important part of the season.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's getting ready mentally, physically. The manager's is setting an approach out. This is what we did. Like, he knows we had a really great season last season, and they probably had a longer season than most of the clubs because they went to the European Cup final, the Champions League final, as we know. And that few weeks rolls around very, very, very quickly to start all over again.
Yeah.
And if you're in a team like Liverpool, I was very lucky to be in a team like Leeds United. Once the season started again, Eamon, the previous season was gone.
Yes.
It was history.
Yep.
Now you're starting again to go. And I don't think that was Liverpool's approach at the start of the season, because he was saying, well, we've only just finished. We've had a short, close season. I'm not bringing the players back till next week. I think what he should have done, and this is my opinion on it, get the players back. We had a long season last season, very tiring, but now we go. Yep. This is a new season. Last season is gone. It's history. We've got to start again. And I don't think that has been his approach this season.
Right.
And I think what will happen now, having results like they had last night and one or two performances like that, he will go. Maybe even this morning have the players and say, look, we've got to start again. We've got to get where we were last season. And I think they will. As the season goes on, I think you'll see the Liverpool that we know. But I think the pre-season, his attitude to the pre-season was wrong.
Yes, and they look at the league table, John, and they're fifth from bottom. And of course, in every coach with a top club in their mind is the idea that if they finish outside top four and don't qualify for the Champions League, in Liverpool's case with the squad they've got and the players that, injured included, it would be almost unthinkable to finish outside the top four. But if they don't get their act together real quick, the unthinkable might happen. Now,
I think they will get. I think they will get their act together, Eamon. I think if you go back to the season, they didn't have a good pre-season training, even in the matches, Eamon.
Yeah, they lost 4-0 to United in the pre-season, but he played three different teams.
I think it was his mentality. Like we're back too early. We're not going to take it too serious, but we'll catch up as we go along. And I think this is only my opinion. It's not the right approach. I think when you get the players together, say, okay, we're back early, but that's it. We're going, we go. Because in the two matches that we started, the three matches, Eamon, that we started, against Fulham, they went up to it in the way that they were last season. Same with the second match, same with the third match last night. And this can happen till he then will get a grip on the players. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
And say, okay, lads, now we've really got to go now. And we've had a lot of injuries, Eamon, as we know, a lot of injuries to key players. But it doesn't stop the approach that he's had season after season. I think he made too much of the early start to the season from last season. Because once it starts again, Eamon, it starts again. Last season is dead and gone, and it doesn't mean anything. You've got to go from scratch again and again every season. And I think he's had that now, and I think he will get a grip.
Now, Alexander-Arnold, John, and Virgil van Dijk. We talked on this podcast, and I've done my stuff for the Star. I think Alexander-Arnold's a brilliant footballer going forward. He does get a lot of assists. His link-up play with Mo Salah, for example, is great. There's a lot of things in his game that are magical, almost Brazilian-like. However, his defensive duties he neglects. I don't think he's got the instinct. I think every match I see, the Crystal Palace match last week, where Zaha scored a goal, was a classic example of Van Dijk not doing the right thing, not taking the steps backward, looking to play the high line. And last night, in the first 15, 20 minutes, Rashford and this young lad, Elanga, who was the one who hit the post, they ran him ragged, John. And Van Dijk was at fault, I thought, for Sancho's goal. This is the first goal. He stood like a statue in the box, hands behind his back because he didn't want to give a penalty, never moved. And after the goal, which, to be fair to Sancho, he took brilliantly, James Milner went up to Van Dijk and had a right go at him. And Van Dijk tried to turn away, and looking at the body language, Milner said, "Look at me when I'm talking to you." And he jabbed his finger at him. I think Milner was giving him a bollocking, John, for being casual, and I think he deserved it. And I think he's been casual quite a bit in his defensive responsibilities.
Yeah, he's a brilliant player, as we know. Eamon Van Dijk. He's brilliant on the ball. He's very quick. But I think I heard Gallagher saying last night, he does have a weakness in doing what I would call a John Terry.
Yes.
Where somebody's going to get a shot, and Terry always, not always, stopped it. He was the one that was charging it down. I mean, when you look at the replay last night, Van Dijk was standing, when Milner was making the tackle, he was standing with his hands behind his back.
Yeah.
Waiting. Instead of backing Milner, I think that's what Milner was on about.
Yes.
As soon as I went, you should have been backing me up.
Yes.
So you get close to the player.
Yeah.
And he's not good at that, Eamon. Now, he's brilliant at most other things, but he's not good at that. And Milner was right to have a go at him. But in the lead up to that particular situation, Eamon, you had you mentioned Trent Alexander there. You know, in the lead up to that, there was a simple ball. He was marking Elanga.
Elanga, yeah.
And Elanga just made a little run behind him, and he was in.
Yeah.
And I watched it afterwards, and I watched it, and instead of getting back like most defenders, when the ball went past him, like Trent Alexander strolled into the box, Eamon.
Yeah.
Strolled in. Now, if he'd have dashed in, he might have got a block on the ball. He might have, but what he did, he had no chance of getting a block on it.
Yeah.
So they're two things that does happen now and again with Liverpool. But Liverpool are so good, Eamon, that they don't have to defend as much as other teams. They're absolutely brilliant when they're at their best and dominating teams, getting at them, scoring goals. And Alexander is a plus in that situation because he's allowed to go forward into positions that he makes a lot of goals from. But when you have to defend like they did last night, then Van Dijk's weakness was shown up, and so was Alexander's. And these are things that could be corrected. And Milner did his best. And
he's a great pro, Milner. He's a leader.
Yeah, he was right. Because if you look at the replay, Van Dijk stayed off the Sanchez.
He did, yeah.
With his hands behind his back. Instead of getting out when Milner was beaten to get a block on it. Not good at getting blocks on it, but he's a brilliant player. And this is like we're talking about Liverpool now, Eamon, and they did have a bad day. I mean, it wasn't typical Liverpool. It was very untypical Liverpool, and I think Klopp, especially when he gets the injuries back again playing, I think he'll get it right again, Eamon. I think they'll come back.
Right. Well, I'll just say about typical Liverpool. Every time I see Liverpool play, John, there are gaps that are exploited in the right back position where Trent should be.
Yes.
And there's goals coming from those gaps. And I think when you put Van Dijk's frailty in one respect and Trent's in another together, you have a major problem. And all the coaches know and all the players know you'll get something down the left-hand side, attacking side, because there is a weakness there. Is it possible, John, that Alexander-Arnold should have more discipline in his defensive duties, and also that they should have a look at the high line idea? Because that really, we've talked about it a lot. The high line means, in case people think we're using jargon, high line means that when you're being attacked, if the ball's played, you take a step out rather than backwards, and you leave the attackers offside. The offside trap.
The old offside trap. Yeah. Now, I agree with that, Eamon. But if you look at Liverpool in the last, 2 years?
Yeah. They've doing
it. The league, they've won the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Doing what
Champions League as well.
Champions League as well. So I agree that it could be tightened up in the right back position and the offside position, definitely. But if you look at Alexander's situation, and I think this is the way Klopp looks at it, he makes a lot of goals, Eamon. His distribution is brilliant. And I think he said, well, I'm going to live with that.
Right.
Now, they've won so many things doing what they're doing with the high line as well, that you can say, and I'm making the case for him now, we'll stick with that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like a team that's, say, oh God, they've lost another one again, and that's cost them the league or that. Like, they won the cup twice last season, and they were 20 minutes away from winning the league.
Everything. Yeah.
From winning everything, right? So you'd have to say, ideally Alexander could defend a lot more, but he's not going to make as many goals as he does, and the high line. That's the policy that they have. So it doesn't mean, I think if they put that right, they probably would win as much, but they have won an awful lot doing what they're doing. And I don't think that'll change. I think once they get these players fit and get back into the Liverpool way, which we saw last week, we think Klopp will get a grip of it, Eamon. Right. He's making a bad start to the season, and he might not be able to catch up. I'd say by Christmas at the latest, they'll be back to their best.
Okay. We'll see. And I hope you're right, of course. I'm a Liverpool fan. Now, Manchester United, John, They were unrecognisable. They were angry. I thought the right back, Dallow, was outstanding. I thought the left back, Malacia, was only a kid, and he's not too tall either, but he was a terrier. I thought the guy who got the stick last week, Martinez, for only being 5'9", thought he played superbly well. I thought Varane was great. Really, really played well. Looking through that team, and this guy Sancho took his goal brilliantly, and he could be a really important player for United. Elanga played well, took him off at half-time and replaced him with Martial, which I didn't really understand. And Marcus Rashford, who I think is a good player with a lot of pace and goals in him, really played well as well. He looked freer and happier than I've seen him for a long time. Some of that may be down to Liverpool's poor defending, but it certainly was a dramatic turnaround for Ten Hag.
Well, yeah, because we don't know what's going on in the dressing room, right, for a start. And he's a new manager coming in and said, well, I'll try this and try that. I think the Ronaldo situation is huge.
Yes.
I think Ronaldo was doing a lot of damage, Eamon.
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as that manager came in, he said he wants to go. I think his agent had a transfer lined up for him. And you have to be pulling together. But if you get an individual like Ronaldo, who is a great player, doesn't want to be part of the team,
yeah,
then you don't get a team spirit. I mean, it's very difficult to build a team spirit and the morale that you need to do the things that needs to be done. So I don't think it's any coincidence that if Maguire and the two senior players were out last night, why does the team suddenly start trying and chasing and doing all the various things that they did? You know, and it takes a while for the manager to really cop onto that. When he came in, he thought, well, Ronaldo, one of the great players, I have to fit him in.
Yes.
You know, that's what I think he was thinking.
Right.
But the other players are thinking, well, Ronaldo doesn't want to be here. He wants to go. You know, we're here. We want to play for Manchester United.
Yeah.
You know, we want a team.
Ronaldo
so
doesn't...
they were a team last night.
Sorry to keep interrupting you, but it's important to point out, John, Ten Hag likes the pressing game, and Ronaldo, I don't think at any stage in his life would have been into the pressing game, but certainly when he's just about to turn 37, he won't be able to press. And I think Ten Hag wants a team that puts the opposition under pressure early and has a high block up there in your face, as it were. He can't do that.
No.
And if one guy's not doing it, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work, Eamon. But Ronaldo has never done that. But you live with him, with what he does do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you have to get players like when Ronaldo was at Manchester United early on. I mean, I'd say there was a lot of times when he wasn't getting back, when Keane was playing at that time.
Yes.
We said, what the hell is this guy doing?
Yeah.
Right? But I live with him because he's going to score X amount of goals.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, now this is a different Manchester United. Ronaldo is a lot older. He's not as good as he was. So, and then he gets out of the dressing room. Everybody knows he wants to get away. So the players that are playing with him are saying, well, what's going on here? He doesn't want to be here. How can we have a team spirit in that particular way?
Let me ask you a question, John, about that relates to Ronaldo and back in the day, which you're referring to when Keane was playing in that. My impression of the game now, the modern game, as played in the Premier League in particular, is that it's much more intense, that the emphasis on defending as a team, that everyone is involved when you haven't got the ball. That was always a principle, I think, and particularly of the Leeds team you played for. But what's your impression of the level of intensity we see now, as opposed to in the days when you and Liverpool and Manchester United were the top teams? Do you believe? I think it's changed, but you were in it.
No, I don't think it's changed at all, Eamon.
Really?
No, I think the principle. I mean, the players might have changed. They might be fitter now. I don't know. I doubt it. But the actual intensity was always there.
Right.
was always there. I mean, probably particularly with the Leeds team.
Yeah. Yes.
Probably particularly with the Leeds team. But it was there with Manchester United. Like when I was a kid, got playing at Manchester United with Jimmy Murphy in charge of the central end of the youth team. Jimmy was brilliant at that.
Yeah.
He wouldn't let, if you weren't doing it, he'd kill you.
Yeah, I was in the same situation. I was coached by Jimmy Murphy, and that was one of his things. When we haven't got the ball, but we're a team. When we have the ball, we're a team. But don't switch off.
Yeah, there was no change in it, Eamon. You know, first of all, in the Leeds team, when I went there first, we got promoted, right?
Yeah,
and we finished runners up to Manchester United in goal difference and reached the cup final. That was nearly all effort.
Yes.
Nearly all effort. It was get after them. That's been there since the game began. I never seen a great team. I played a great team, seen a great team who didn't work hard.
Right.
And they hadn't got the ball.
Of course. Yeah. You
know what I mean? You go back to the Brazilians, when they have the ball, they chase you down all over the place. That's what makes them a great team.
Yeah.
Because there's only two things in football, Eamon. You either have the ball or you don't have the ball. And it's the most important thing on the pitch.
Yep.
Because if you get after the opposition, no matter how good they are, you get after a good player. And the great players can get away with it because they have the ability to do so. But you don't play against great players all the time. But it's the attitude to it. That's why Keane, in my opinion, was a great player. Because of his attitude.
Yes.
He wasn't a Bobby Charlton. He wasn't scoring goals. He wasn't making long passes. But when he didn't have the ball, he was the best I've ever seen at getting it back or trying to get it back and insisting on the players like Scholes and Beckham and these people around him to do that. It was 50% of their success at Manchester United. And all the teams that I played, there's great Liverpool teams over the years, and with Shankly.
Yeah.
Shankly had them working like dogs.
Yeah. Just to make an interesting point, if you saw it, Casemiro was introduced to the fans last night, came out on the pitch. He's a Brazilian, he's 30 years of age, and Keane and Carragher and Gary Neville were being interviewed by the Sky presenter, and he made a special walk over to Keane, and he embraced Keane in a very warm, admiring sort of way. I thought it was extremely significant about how even a Brazilian, a top class Brazilian, won 5 Champions League medals with Real Madrid, has been in the Brazilian teams, but Keane was the man he embraced, and you could see the admiration he had for Keane. It was a very interesting moment. Did you see it?
I did, Eamon. Yeah, of course. Of course he would know Keane. And I mean, that's what great players like him learn from people that they saw as kids.
Yeah.
They're an example to him. And he would appreciate, I bet he learned a lot to say, well, if he can do it, I can do it.
Right.
You know, or I'll try and do it. And it's the same, like, to talk about the Brazilians and the English and the French and that. I mean, great players are great players wherever they come from, Eamon, for doing what he does. And then you've other great players doing different things like Bobby Charlton did.
Yeah.
But he would have learned from Keane. You know, like Keane was never, I repeated it, Bobby Charlton. He wasn't spraying balls, he wasn't scoring great goals. But he made sure that if they lost the ball, anybody needs to get it back. Get it back. I'm going to get it back. I'm going to kill myself to get it back. That's what makes a team. You have players in the team like that. And the more players you have in the team who are gifted as well, it's unbelievably good.
I just before we finish, John, I tell you, I had a conversation with Keane when I was writing the book with him, and I referred to the game away to Juventus when he got the booking that prevented him playing in the final. Now he was absolutely superb that night, and he's playing up against Zinedine Zidane as well. And I talked about how great. I said, I'm not great, he says. I can't do the things that Scholes can do, that Giggsy can do, and that Beckham can do. He said, I just get the ball. I just work and work and work. And he wouldn't deny his admiration for people who could do more. But what he was doing, as we know, was absolutely the essence that allowed the other players to play the way they did.
Well, that's a team, Eamon. That's what makes a team.
Yeah.
You know, like in all teams, you have to have people. Well, the great players can do their stuff and win the ball. Like Billy Bremner was a great player. Billy Bremner could distribute the ball, score goals, and be a tiger when he didn't have it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's what makes them. And Bobby Charlton couldn't do that. Bobby Charlton admired, loved.
Yes.
The players that could do that.
Yeah.
Simon.
Yeah.
Bobby couldn't do it, no matter how hard he did. It wasn't for the fact that he wasn't trying. He would chase back in that. But Bobby was the worst tackler I ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
So he needed people around him who could win the ball, you know?
Okay, John, we're grateful to you for joining us today to look back on last night. And let me just confirm what you assured me of, that Liverpool will be back up challenging for something before Christmas.
Yes.
And what's for Manchester United fans, what's your prediction for Ten Hag, or is it too early to draw any conclusions from one performance?
Well, I think the bad start he made, Eamon, bad start he made, will be a help to him.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he didn't come in winning the first 4 or 5 matches where the expectations would be high.
Yeah.
I mean, you could see the fans last night. They were absolutely delighted that they could play against Liverpool, play well, and beat them.
Yeah.
Now, if they started winning 5-0, 6-0, it'd be expected.
Yeah.
I think he's learning now. He's learned a lot from the matches that he's played, and I think they'll get better. I don't think they'll win the league, but they play with spirit, and that's what the supporters expect. I think he knows now what team do I need out there, and I think the Ronaldo situation will go with Ronaldo.
Okay.
And I think the fans will be more optimistic and get behind him, and I think he'll do better and better as he goes along.
Okay, John, we're very grateful to you for joining us this morning. My apologies once more to people I have misled about Casemiro and his injuries. A lot of listeners have tweeted about it and sent us emails, and I really am sorry about that. It's a mistake I shouldn't have made, but I did make, and we'll see Casemiro in a red shirt very soon.